students. I've completed reviewing and evaluating the final drafts of your personal narratives and wanted to share with you my reflections. You had the opportunity to peer review the rough draft of one classmate providing feedback. I wanted to share with you the topics selected by your entire learning community, as well as effective samples from your writing of titles, hooks, openings, dialogue, show versus tell descriptions, and reflections of the significance of events. First, let's look at the topics our learning community selected to write about in essays. Here are some titles. Marlene Alamar wrote, "I Will Never Forget You, Daddy." She's describing the shocking death of her son's father. Ellen wrote about the operation, which is her opportunity to witness heart surgery. Bronson wrote about fire school, describing his decision to be a firefighter. Jefferson wrote about playing the piano. David wrote about keep pedaling, a 120-mile circuit in the Austrian Alps with two fellow cyclists. Katie wrote an essay called In Time, describing her experience in a car accident and how she handled the aftermath. The title of Song's essay was Learning to Appreciate My Mother. She describes her love and appreciation of her mother. Stephanie, her title of her essay was Paw Prints in My Heart. She described how the death of her first dog affected her ability to love and accept a new dog. Natalie's title was The Newborn Teacher, and in her essay she described her experience and lessons learned as a new mother. Johnny's title was Rehab. He describes the life-changing experience of rehabilitation. Chelsea wrote Praying for Luck. She writes about a night that she helped her parents catch some bad guys who were contaminating the environment with toxic waste. Rebecca's title was Get Down, Get Down, and she describes what it was like to work at a bank during a bank robbery. Isa's title was Change of Heart. She describes her experience in the teen court program. During this experience, she was a defense attorney for local peers who got into trouble and had to face court time, and she describes the impact of one of her clients there. Christian wrote The Broken Bone, the story of how he broke his collarbone. Stephanie's title was When I Got My First Dog. She flashes back to getting a dog when she was 10 and how the experience shaped her future goals. Destiny's title was Our New Home and the destination there. She describes her mom's quest to obtain a new home and the influence and inspiration of her mom. Stephen wrote an essay called Moving On, where he describes moving to Florida. Eudaly wrote The Overtake, about a car accident and its aftermath. Amanda wrote The Blue BMW. She also describes a car accident and what she learned from the experience. Logan wrote Life as a Military Wife, describing her experience as a military wife and meeting her husband. Jamie wrote My People, describing her experience at a Christian youth camp and how the experience helped her reconnect to God and those at the camp. So overall, what were some global issues I saw? First of all, trying to cover too many events in the essay. And one of the lessons learned in some of the comments on your paper was zero in on one moment and paint a picture of that moment in time. So not trying to cover too much in one essay. Remember, this was only a 2-page essay. Another global issue, telling rather than showing the event, and this will be a common theme that you'll continue as you write your descriptive essays. A lot of you were good at telling the event, so I felt like it was more like first this happened and then this happened. So lessons learned, close your eyes and imagine being there, or imagine being interviewed by a news reporter. As you're closing your eyes and you're transported in the one moment, what do you hear and what do you smell and feel? And then open your eyes and describe what you see. Another issue, using words like beautiful, amazing, or great, and lessons learned there is to paint a picture of the scene and then let the reader determine the beauty of the scene. You'll work more on that in your descriptive essay this week. So in other words, instead of telling the reader that the air smelled foul, you describe rotting eggs or stagnant water or rancid meat. And then you let the reader figure out the smell. Another global issue, using said in your integration of dialogue. Um, for example, how do you know, she said. So lessons learned there is to describe the tone, the volume of the voice, and add movement. And I'll show you some examples here of some classmates who did this well. So let's look at some excerpts from your essays. Here are some effective hooks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks is all it took for me to meet the love of my life and realize that he was going to be the man I spent the rest of my life with. Logan wrote that about military life. Isa started with a quote, "Change your thoughts and you change your world," said the prosecutor with a smile. And see, here is how you use, she described the movement here with a smile instead of using said. David wrote, "Passing cars while speeding down the side of a mountain on tires less than an inch wide makes time slow down and the heart beat hard and fast." So painting a picture there. So you can see that types of hooks, you can share personal examples, quotations, facts or statistics, ask a question, or contrast to the thesis statement. Here are some more effective hooks. When you spend every day of your life with someone, leaving them behind isn't so easy. Everything can be taken away from you in the blink of an eye, a quote I never seemed to believe until the day I almost lost myself. And Chelsea started with dialogue. "You're the only one that we can trust with this," David said to me as he and Mom drove me home from swim practice. "Why does this sound like some kind of spy novel?" I replied, not realizing that this night was going to completely change my whole world. So you see how these hooks really engage you and make you want to read more in the essay. Here are some effective openings. And remember, you can, types of openings, preview, you can ask a question, pose a hypothetical situation, you can start with dialogue or make a startling statement. So similar to your hook. I'll let you read these openings. I'll post the PowerPoint slides, but you can see that some of these openings start with questions or start with quotations. So there's a lot of effective openings that all of you shared. You did a good job with your openings. So you can see some of these are rather lengthy. I'm going to go ahead and post these. Here's some effective use of dialogue. And as I said in my global statement, avoid using said, as in he said or she said, and replace with a more descriptive word. So always add a description to passages of dialogue so that your reader is not only hearing what is said, but can see what is happening, where it's happening, or how our characters are behaving. Here are some other tips. Accent your dialogue with movement and mannerisms. So notice in this exchange, look at the sunset. Jenny gushed, the word gushed. There's movement here. Yeah, pretty colors. Ray tapped his fist on the rail. So here's some movement. Jenny tipped back her head, enraptured. And here there's a tone. Ray grouched. He started back to the car. So you see there's a combination here of movement, mannerisms, and description of tone. So here's some effective use of dialogue in our class papers. Notice here how David adds some descriptions and also some movement. I turned to see John's wide, thin-lipped smile pointed at me like a loaded gun. Connor shook his head, knowing that no one possessed the power to deny John when he thought he was being brilliant. "Do you want to go, Dave?" he finally said. Here's some additional effective use of dialogue in your papers. Katie started with some dialogue here. "Ma'am, are you okay?" a student emergency responder asked while helping me out of my car. I did not even take the time to examine myself when I responded, "Go check my brother." Here there's some tone. "Are you sure you're leaving today?" Angela said with a groan. "I've been ready to leave for longer than we've known each other. Besides, we need to hit St. Louis before we can stop. Mom and Dad are expecting us," I replied, trying not to smell myself. So you can see here some different ways of integrating dialogue. Here's some effective use of show, not tell, from classmates. My few second-long blackout was halted by the sound of skidding rubber and breaking glass. The sun was low and warm, and there was a slight breeze in the air. From Katie. And Stephanie here, and she revised her essay to include some very specific descriptions of a dog that she picked. So lots of descriptions here that help you visualize what this dog looked like. Here's some additional use of show, not tell by Amanda. Before I could blink, our airbags burst open. My reflexes kicked in and my arm flew up to cover my face, creating a huge gash across my arm. Here she describes the smoke. White and gray smoke was covering out our windshield. The smell of burnt metal was overpowering us. And all we heard were witnesses yelling, "Somebody call it in." And there's lots of descriptions here with Eudaly. This is a long passage you might want to read as I post this. And here are some effective reflections on the significance of events. This is where you reflect in the final part of your essay. I thought about my own heart, my life, and what a precious gift life is. I've always realized hearts are so real and oh so delicate. I was truly changed because at that moment I had a whole new perspective on life, a more appreciative outlook. If I wasn't certain before on wanting to become a nurse, I sure was after that. And this is Ellen's description of actually looking at a human heart during the operation, during her heart procedure. Amanda wrote, I've learned that even on my worst day, I'm living like someone on their greatest. That night I made a vow to myself that I will never take life for granted again. Here's another one by Bronson. Forrest Gump said it best, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. It's the same at work. When the tones drop, you never know which kind of call you're preparing yourself for. It could be anything from picking a little old lady off the ground to cutting the roof off a car to running into a house that's on fire. Here are some other effective reflections on significance of events. Rebecca wrote, everyone is always saying, I would do this or that if I was in a certain situation. Let me be the first one to tell you that you never know how you'll react until you're in this situation. And here she's describing being a bank teller when there was a robbery. You could be like Carol or Dee Dee, who froze and didn't know what to do, or like Janice and I, who took control of the situation and paid attention to the details. Through this experience, I learned how to stay calm in stressful situations. And Stephanie wrote, I will always have space for his small paw prints in my heart. And with tears in my eyes, I exhaled and I let him go. And that is about how she healed with her new dog and embraced a new dog. So as you continue working on your rough drafts of descriptive essays, continue working on sensory details. Here are the lessons learned that you should think about. Use vivid descriptions. Using your imagination is a good way. So here you're writing this week about a painting or photograph. So just imagine you're inside the painting or photograph and write from the perspective of being there. Write about the things you hear, taste, touch, and smell as you paint or take the photograph. Research the background of the artist or photographer. Interpret the meaning and the context of the artist's life or current events. And if you don't know where to begin, just start writing, no matter what. The water does not flow until the faucet is turned on. So have a great week.